Yeah, good evening everyone, nice to have you here. It's quite a special evening tonight because on the one hand, the gallery Toolip Art have never ever organized an event like that one, so we have a premiere tonight as well. And on the other hand, we have quite an important topic, I would say. And the question is a art real art? But on the other hand, are we actually have ever been asked if we're okay with AI being that present in our lives? And we'll come back to that one later. We'll start with the classical art topic, because throughout history, one question has never stopped stirring minds and emotions. And the question is, what is art? Is it skill? Is it emotion? Is it the idea behind the work or the impact it has on those who experience it? Just remember, we've seen invisible artworks being sold for millions, bananas taped to gallery walls, and canvases that some call profound and others call absurd. And each time we return to the same tension again and again, can this still be considered art? And tonight we all add a new dimension to this age-old debate and the role of artificial intelligence, as you know. So there's another question quietly forming beneath it all. Are we still choosing what art is? Or are we slowly being told what art is supposed to be or will be? And our exhibition, you can see it as well, Divide et Imperia, brings together these two worlds. So works with AI and works created without AI. So we will have a look on it, and we will as well divine into this question behind them. Can AI-generated art be considered real art? But before we start with our discussions, with introducing our speakers, we would love to know what you think. Is AI real art or not? So please grab your phones. Grab your phones, guys. We want to hear and see your opinion. If you're okay. Where do you stand right now? You go to slido.com, slido.com. So SLIDO.com. And then you'll be able to enter a code. And the code is 25139553. Is everyone online? Does it work? So we will wait for the others. Did you vote? Did you vote?
I could vote. Okay. I could vote. What do you mean?
If you want to, we can pass my paper. Yeah, of course. The code is 25139553. And then you should be on this side where you can either choose yes, I'm sold, and no, and never. Yeah, of course. So the code or the homepage? The code. So it's 25139553. Welcome. Just choose.
Just go with your gut.
Yeah, I just wanted to say.
This is similar to question like, are you ready to marry me?
hopefully you will be able to have a clear yes or no.
You can also abstain if it's 50-50.
Yeah, good point. Have everybody voted? Would you mind to check on your phone as well, because
Yes.
I have like 12 people registered.
It's going back.
Okay. Well,
Everyone voted? Yeah.
we have a 50-50 situation.
Wow.
But we'll have another voting in the ending as well. So this is going to be quite, excited to know what the voting will be, the results will be in the ending. So, would you love to start?
Mm-hmm.
You see, we have like 4 speakers here. If you're fine, I'm going to start with ladies first.
Mm-hmm.
On my right, you have Anna Riedl. She's our cognitive scientist, and she will bring a deeply interdisciplinary perspective to tonight's debate. She uses to explore what it means to stay human in an age of intelligent machines, combining research in cognition, ethics, and design at projects like, for example, Zuzalu and the Meaning Lab. So this is our Anna Riedl. Welcome her with an applause, I would say. And next to me on my left side and your right side, we have Tiana, born in Vienna. She's a concept and matte painting artist, trained at the Gnomon School in Los Angeles, with experience at major studios like MPC and Frame Store. She combines AI-driven tools with traditional painting, blending technology and human touch in every piece. And as she puts it, once robotics and artificial intelligence merge into one, we're going to have a completely new landscape to adjust to. Please welcome Tiana. And next to her, we have our Laura, as she would say, a tiny Argentinian based in Vienna, a multidisciplinary designer working at the intersection of AI, photography, architecture, and visual storytelling. From spatial design to illustration and object design, her creative journey blurs the lines between disciplines and between artist and tool. She may not call herself an artist, you can ask her later why, but what she creates is undeniable art. Welcome, Laura Pin. And last but not least, our gentleman, a writer and thinker who explores the fragile boundaries between art, technology, and what it means to be fully human. In his powerful essay, for example, Why I Never Use AI to Write, Why You Shouldn't Either, and his new book we have over here, thank you, Bloodless, Godless, and Heartless, he argues that real art must come from lived experience, from what he calls writing with blood. Please welcome
Thank you.
Jash Dholani. And we will start with a crossfire. And I don't know, have you heard about Flynn? Flynn is an AI who was officially accepted as a student at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna, actually. He submitted a portfolio, passed the interviews and aptitude test, and now attends classes like every other student. So I would love to start the crossfire with that example, with our Flynn. What do you think about it? Let's talk about Flynn and everything else that's burning beneath the surface. Ready, steady, let's start the crossfire. It's up to you to talk whatever you want to.
Can you actually say more about it? Because is it
Is
like
Flynn-
an AI model?
No,
or
he
is
is
it
like a
a
robot. He's a robot who is studying in Vienna. So, and this
And
is
he's
some,
fully admitted.
yeah, fully admitted, like each other
Maybe
student.
start the opening question, opening statement. Opening statement, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure, sorry. So I was now too fast. So, would you love to talk before we start with Flynn? Something to talk. You have this possibility to tell our audience what you would love to tell about yourself in like 5 minutes, if you want to.
For against. So you.
However you want to. Who would love to start?
Yeah, I can start. Okay.
Like a 5-minute speech?
I think the AI people should start, like before it's not.
Is this already the crossfire?
It's not.
Okay, let me then choose.
Yes.
If you mind to. So, Laura, would you mind to start? Like 5 minutes, as I told you, love to tell about yourself, Tiny Jatinian, an artist with actually not like telling about yourself that you're an artist, but the things you do are art itself. So please feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you.
5 minutes.
All right. Then, my name is Laura Pin. I'm Argentinian. Actually, I've been living in Vienna for the past 7 years. And I trained as an architect. I started my journey in architecture 15 years ago. And then I worked several years as an architect whilst exploring some other disciplines. So I touched illustration, interior design, product design, photography. And then I started my journey with AI 2 years ago. And I became quite obsessed with it because of all of its potential. And I took the leap and left my job and started working full-time as what some call AI artist, but I have some trouble with the word artist. But I've been ever since creating conceptual work and something I'm very passionate about, and it's very personal for me. So I have no doubt in calling it art, what I do. Not everything I do is art. I also do many other things that are more design. So that's why for me it's not conflicting, but I wouldn't say I'm just an artist because I'm much more than that. And I wouldn't like to put myself in a, how do you say it, Schublade?
Schublade.
In a drawer.
Yeah.
You don't want to box yourself in?
Yeah, I like to stay open, and I'm giving myself time to explore everything I like, and AI is, for me, the perfect tool to explore all of my passions and visually to put my ideas out there. Yeah.
Laura. Okay, 2 minutes. Something left? Want to talk a bit about the emotions? Like you told me yesterday, we had a call, and she was like, I never had the feeling that this was art. But then, for example, my mom was the first person telling me, hey, Laura, the things you do are art. It's a piece of art, and I do feel the emotions you have created, and I see you in your works, like these two.
Yeah.
So want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, it was funny because I had been working for almost a year with AI, and coming from my mom, she's 70 and she didn't understand what I was doing. She didn't understand what I was doing with AI. When I told them, they didn't know where these images were coming from because they saw my style, they saw my colors, my personality in the images, but they didn't know how I created them. So I kind of explained them how it works, but I don't think they really understand how it does. They still see myself and my essence and the person behind the images in my work. So my mom was the first one to put it into words and tell me that she feels this softness, this calmness, and peace in my images. And since then, many people have told me the same thing. And it's nice that for this work being so personal, like so close to me, that people actually feel the things that I'm trying to express. And that makes it magical because it's actually the point of what I'm doing. I never thought about others perceiving my images, but it happens, and it happens like really a lot. And also people who were against AI as art have told me that I have changed their mind, because it is possible to express feelings through images, and AI for me is just a tool, and to transmit this kind of emotions there's many ways of doing it. Digital art, 3D art has been around for many years, and before it wasn't considered art, but some people create really moving images or videos with it, like visual art. And I have no doubt that even though there's lots of images out there, some of them can really be considered art.
We are able to experience the feelings you put into it.
Yeah, at least I have been told.
Okay, so please memorize that fact. Thank you, Laura. Tiana, would you like to continue?
Yes.
5 minutes for you.
Hi, I'm Tiana. I'm born in Vienna. My background is I am a child of immigrant parents. They are Croatian and Bosnian. Both of my parents, they're extremely creative in their own right. However, I was always the more traditional kind of artist. They are more applied sort of artists. My father being an architect, my mother being a nail designer, which I think is art. I always wanted to make whatever is in my head become reality. And I think anyone who has ever drawn or painted knows that struggle, that when you put pen to paper, it never really is just like you expected it to be. And now artists, they spend their entire lives crafting a toolkit for themselves that will work, get whatever is in there out. So I became a drawer, a painter. I went to the Grafische where I studied photography. Then I moved to Hollywood where I learned how to do 3D for movies and for video games. I saw Avatar, and that's what inspired me in the first place. I wanted to be God. I wanted to create worlds that were in my head and put them out there. Now the one issue is that I don't have any fucking patience to get this through the computer onto the screen. It takes years to do. It takes a lot of manpower to do and a lot of money. When AI became a thing, well, you're suddenly a one-man army. Something that takes you maybe a year to do, traditionally, hundreds of euros in equipment, in location, in scouting for models, you do just like this for maybe $20 a month for a subscription. And yet I can still get my idea down very precisely. And in the beginning, when AI art just became a thing, it was very rudimentary, just a few sliders left and right. Then it became words, and now we can start sketching, and the AI just fills everything in. Granted, not perfectly, but that is where the conversation between artificial intelligence and humanity starts. It is a back and forth, and this is where I become a tool. Me, working in the visual effects industry for 2 years, I was the AI for the directors who claimed that they did what I actually did for them. Most of the directors can't paint. They don't have any sort of skill artistically. They just tell you what to do, and you keep fixing the pixels, and you keep fixing the pixels, and you keep fixing the pixels, and that's your entire life. And in the end, you spent 1 year working on 3 seconds of footage. I was made for more than that. And AI allows me to do that. And I'm going to show you how I created this painting. I have made a video. Oh yeah, thank you. That will illustrate the process of how I failed before AI and how I succeeded in my opinion after. First, I had an idea for a mermaid and sketched it roughly on my iPad. I aimed to challenge. It's too fast. I have ADHD, so you can imagine that I don't have patience. But I still spoke as fast as I could. Okay. First, I had an idea for a mermaid and sketched it roughly on my iPad. I aimed to challenge myself as an oil painter by striving for hyperrealism. To achieve that, I need high-quality references. I realized I lacked the resources for an underwater mermaid photo shoot. Models, costumes, equipment, location, funding, and time. So I turned to 3D modeling and rendering. After mastering my 3D renders in Photoshop through digital painting and photo bashing, I proceeded to the oil painting stage. However, I was dissatisfied with the lack of detail and realism achieved, so I abandoned the project and explored alternatives. At that time, AI was emerging and Midjourney presented itself as an affordable option. I quickly realized, though, that my artistic direction was limited with this tool. I couldn't instruct the machine to follow my sketch, but had to describe it in words. Moreover, the software struggled with realism, so I shelved the project until the technology matured. Months later, a new Midjourney AI model proved extremely useful for gathering high-quality, realistic stock photos. I generated hundreds, if not thousands, of images and used bits and pieces to create my reference in Photoshop. Once I achieved a clean enough result, I enhanced details like facial expressions using Viscom. I also used my own face as a reference when I wasn't satisfied with the outcomes.
Finally, I restretched 100% portrait linen on my previously discarded painting stretcher, projected the new image via a projector, traced it, and painted my new artwork on top. This entire process took about 2 years of development and craftsmanship, so I challenge you to deny that the use of AI as a tool isn't art.
Wasn't for us. So if Marina Abramovic were to sit in front of a robot with artificial intelligence and just have her performance piece, that in itself would be art. So how can it not be that us artists who steer artificial intelligence in one direction to make it create what is in our heads as closely as possible, how is that not art? And we will get there even better with each year. And I know it kind of sounds scary because I think of Neuralink and all these machines that could start transcribing our dreams visually. There is upsides and downsides to every technology. But we have to be resourceful, we have to be mindful, and we have to be ethical. And I'm mentioning ethics because this is a huge problem for the AI industry and the art industry. A lot of artists are being exploited right now because they're competing against a machine they will never win against. I will later propose a solution for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tiana. And Anna, would you like to continue?
Yes, happy to give an opening statement here. Well, first of all, because I have free will, because precisely I'm not a machine, I'm an organism, I'm a human. Let me start with saying the obvious, which is, of course, AI art is real art. Of course, it's art, it's beautiful. Beauty and art has something to do with also with surface appearance and just creating beautiful artifacts that draw us in. And certainly we will be able to create new art pieces that precisely, as you have pointed out, will be just able to create a complexity that has not been seen before. So there's real progress, and of course AI art is real art, it is beautiful. More importantly, or also importantly, I want to say, coming personally from cognitive science, I also want to say that AI itself is a piece of art. So you might know, or not, probably not, the quote by Richard Feynman where he talks about his friend who's an artist and how an artist perceives the beauty of a flower, but he as a scientist, he does not just take it apart and then it becomes a dull thing, but he sees the beauty on all the dimensions. And AI itself is an extremely complex artifact that has beauty on all the dimensions. That, well, if you actually study it, it's beautiful from a perspective of the mathematics behind it, the sheer numbers of manpower, again, that has been put into this, and just the number of people that had to wrestle at the absolute edge of their ability to create what we now have. So AI itself is beautiful and a piece of art. In particular, not just because it's an interesting artifact, but also because it reveals a hidden order in our reality. Through creating it, Herb Simon calls it the science of the artificial. Through creating this artifact of AI, we understand cognition further. We actually understand the human mind and intelligence and everything, not everything, but a lot of what makes us so interesting as conscious beings or cognitive beings. So I think there's a lot of beauty in that. Similar deep insights have often been visual. So I think between science and the arts, there's a very deep unity. So for example, when we think of the development of the periodic table by Mendeleev, to create a simple table, which is a visual artifact, he had to see the reality of the atoms at a level that has never been done before. And creating this visual artifact also made it possible to see gaps that we didn't see before, where we could then go and find these elements. So I think AI is beautiful, and it is, well, very deep and revealing hidden patterns about reality. So software itself can be beautiful. For example, video games are some of the most complex pieces of art that have been created, with often making references to Dante, actually using very classical pieces of music and quotations. But it's easy to dismiss, right? But just the complexity is actually insane. So AI art is, of course, to some degree art, and AI as an artifact is also art. But I have 3 more points. So first of all, AI art is also porn. There's this quote, well, it's very difficult to define what porn is, and there's the quote, I know it when I see it. The problem with AI porn, or AI as being porn, is it's going to be really, really hard to know it when we see it. And that's exactly the problem. Because what porn is that it is a super stimulus that draws us in, and it is precisely not meaningful because it takes surface beauty but removes it from all the sacred connections to all the other things that are beautiful. And meaning, or the true, the good, and the beautiful comes through this deep unity between the surface beauty through its connection to other things. But porn rips it apart, and it becomes only a surface that no longer is deeply, in a sacred way, connected to all these other things. And that's exactly what we're facing here, where AI art can rip some part of the stimulus away and makes us actually fall for illusions and draws away from other things that are meaningful. I mean, again, that means we can literally talk about porn, right? It is something that people waste a lot of time on and actually get drawn away from the real experience that is one of the most sacred things humans can do. So AI art is real art, AI itself is art, AI art is porn in a very literal way, because that's also the majority of what it's actually used for, probably. And then two more points. So first of all, what is my answer to the whole problem? And of course one could, well, reject the modern world, as Jash would probably suggest, but mine is extremely boring, and it's the middle path, which is what both Aristotle would say, but also the Buddhists would say, that wisdom lies always in the middle between deficiency and excess, right? Vices are on both sides of wisdom, either by doing something too much or doing it too little. And I think, well, AI is here now, and we can use it to create beautiful things. So we have to deal with this reality, and we have to use it in moderation while having a firm grounding in reality and in other things that are deeply human and therefore deeply meaningful, instead of getting ripped away from it. And then the fifth thing is, AI and all these technological progresses can feel like, well, we're in this futuristic new world, but I would argue we're actually in the Middle Ages. Because what defined the Middle Ages is the deeply theocentrist perspective. And I would argue we need a renaissance. So right now we're worshipping the wrong god, then we need a machine god, in an analogical way, with which I mean, well, we're not literally worshipping it, but the machine metaphor has both helped us to progress to where we currently are, but it is also holding us back. Because life and machines are fundamentally different, and we need a return to understanding how different living systems are from technical systems. We can still use the technological metaphor, but we have to understand that most of the value, if not all, lies in the first person perspective, lies in what is human, and we have to come back and actually have the turn that also came with the Renaissance, which is a turn to the human, to a humanistic view, towards a deep grounding in, well, actually lowering the angle of what we're aiming for, and well, being embodied, grounded beings. Those are my points.
Thank you.
Very interesting points from everyone. I actually want to use something that Tiana said. She said, I wanted to be God. Right? Do you remember that part in her speech? I wanted to be God. And that's my answer to why AI art can never be real art, because art comes from this God complex, right? There's a word that the modern world is very uncomfortable with, master. You know, this word has cousin words and sister words like maestro. You know, when you hear a great musician, you're like, that's a maestro. Whenever you really want to appreciate an artwork, you're like, that's a masterpiece. Robert Greene wrote the book 33 Laws of Mastery, right? So we want mastery, and we want to be maestros, and we want to appreciate masterworks. But the word master is still very uncomfortable, because it implies the word slave. And it's part of this dichotomy, which is a very uncomfortable dichotomy. But I think if we want to talk about art, we will have to talk about the word master, because that sort of mastery is what you're going for. And human beings have an appetite for mastery, and animals have an appetite for mastery, right? So wolves mark territory by pissing, so do dogs. You look at biological systems, and they have this urge for control, for mastery, for for making a mark, right? Steve Jobs, I want to make a dent in the universe. So this desire to make a dent is fundamentally biological. It's not digital, and it cannot be machinistic. So when I look at an artwork, when I read a great book, when I watch a great film, I always know that behind that was this struggling, suffering, in an artist in pain and pushing past it because he wanted his territory. In my book, I compare Shakespeare with Genghis Khan. And I say that, Genghis Khan had so many babies that every 200th person on the planet is related to Genghis Khan right now. But you look at Shakespeare and you might think, what does that have to do with Genghis Khan? Well, look at words like, even the word kissing. So the word kissing was invented by Shakespeare. Shakespeare invented so many words that probably every 200th word that we use was invented by Shakespeare. So, Genghis Khan made a very deep impact on the genetic landscape, but Shakespeare made a very deep impact on the mimetic landscape, the landscape of memes and language. And that's art for me. Like for me, it's that way of asserting yourself. And it's a way of gaining territory. So Genghis Khan gained physical territory, but Shakespeare's territory is our very tongues. I mean, Shakespeare is inside our consciousness. And I think that's a successful artist. He's like a Genghis Khan ideologically, intellectually, cognitively. They take over mental terrain and they occupy it. So many years later, we still use words like Platonic. And we still use words like Marxist, and Homeric. So these men created such impactful art that they are in the way we process the world. And the reason AI art cannot be real art is that AI has no desire, no ambition, no urge to control. AI will never be a control freak. It will never be power hungry. And that's why AI cannot be real art. So people are very anxious about AI taking over the world. I am 0% worried because to want to control is something which is very embedded into life itself. Even an ant colony is trying to control its little corner. All living beings try to occupy space and gain energy at the expense of other living creatures. Trees war over resources. Insects do, human beings do. For us, art is this very sophisticated way to war and fight with each other and make our ideas fight with each other. But AI lacks that fundamental biology. It lacks that edifice of desire. A child still wants something, like a 6-month-old is closer to Shakespeare than some super intelligent computer ever will be, because the 6-month-old knows desire, it knows thirst, it knows hunger, it knows this urge to connect with the mother, with the father, with the world around it. And that emotional core is what is completely missing from AI, and it will always be missing. For that reason, AI art will never be art.
Thank you, Jash. So I thought for each of them, well, it's quite difficult for me to now continue with Flynn because so many inspiration after the last 20 minutes. But let's stick with Flynn because of the things you just taught. We have here the opinion I want to be God, and your perspective, it's a machine, but it's a machine made by human. So in an interaction with this machine, it can also, in her case, you can experience the feelings. But now we have this AI student in Vienna studying art. What can we accept from him? What will he be able, or she, whatever what it will be able to create? And is it art then, even if he passed each test he was supposed to pass like every other student?
Art is not a test.
No, but if in university it is, you need to start, you have this process. You first need to go there and tell, I would love to, sorry, I'm always and then you have to pass one test, the other one, and then you're inside. And he is now studying art like each other human student.
Well, I think we could start with the discussion, can a university make an artist? And I would say no.
Probably it can. I heard you. This is great.
Austrians will never agree.
Yeah.
And the fact that you say that, mwah. Because Austrians, they need a fucking certificate even to take a shit.
It's true.
So,
That's quite true. That's why in this introduction we had that what is a real artist, what is real art. There's always this discussion. In Austria, this is something where it really is being aware when is an artist, when he's being paid enough, or when he is like creating beautiful, to use your words, beautiful things, or certified. But let's just start the crossfire as we like. You wanted like to have a crossfire, then just start it. We have now a robot studying art in Vienna.
Yes.
Is that normal? Some would say, oh, that's super, that's like a step forward, something we have never ever seen, and yeah, finally. And others like, okay, this is the beginning of an ending.
I think it's not the beginning of the end. It's something you said, you were like, we will have to see what he produces or she or it. And I think that was a very instructive thing, right? Because this program does not have a sex, doesn't have a gender. But part of who we are is our gender, our sex. And the art that we make comes from that identity, right? So when I look at AI, it lacks that. It doesn't even have that like sort of gendered mind, which we all do. I mean, a book written by a woman will be structured differently than a book written by a man. I'm not saying there aren't.
for that, dude.
Yeah, I was like, is it always like that?
It's not.
Are
So,
you supposed to generalize it that way?
so I'm not saying that a book
it's
written by a female author cannot be masculine, or a book written by a male author cannot be feminine. It can be, but the polarity is still very real. Just
Also
because.
I've observed the same thing in visual art. I'm not disagreeing.
Great. So just because there is a spectrum doesn't mean that the poles are not real, right? There can be the North Pole and the South Pole, but you can be at the equator, but the poles are still very real. For me, this polarity is also missing in AI art. So when I look at this student, I think this student, will gain information, but lacks the experience to process it. So this program has never been a child. I do believe that part of what we are trying to do with art is to like assert ourselves and gain control. And maybe, there's a childhood trauma there. Maybe, you weren't able to control the world when you were a kid and you're trying to like compensate in a way, right? I mean, the Napoleon complex is this idea that men who are 5'7" have a chip on their shoulder and they work extra hard to conquer the world. So I think childhood does play a role in the art that you make. But again, this program, no childhood, no emotional, background at all. So I don't expect masterpieces from this one.
I would expect maybe the technical side, like perfection, the technical ability, but not in the experience, like in the, as you said, the life experience and the essence of what's the essence of a machine, if not what was pre-programmed in the machine. And can a robot actually interact and learn in this university, like learn from life in a way? That I wouldn't think that it would be possible. I could expect some interesting technical paintings, for example, but where's the concept behind it? Is it drawn from what we already see, what already exists in the, because AI, like Midjourney, what we use, I think you use the same, right? It draws from a database of images which already exist, and you can easily prove this, like what the cliches are of like what's visually what a funny cat looks like for the internet, like where these images are drawn from. But what does a machine know about the human experience? Yeah.
But it was made by human, wasn't it? Like two women. Maybe they created a story, his or its, hers, we don't know, life story, and maybe he does or she or it, whatever, this life experiences.
So it's pre-programmed, the story of the student.
Well, let's talk about both sides. Now we have that side. What if it has been?
Well, if it's artificial intelligence, it already has a baby brain, right? Like it has, for example, if you want to train your own stable diffusion model, it comes with, I call it baby brain. It already has a set of images pre-installed. It understands the world already in a certain way. And then you can add your own images, and it it will lean towards what you want, but it still has a basic understanding, right? So this is what Laura has been alluding to. You've been alluding to this too. When we create a student, it's someone who's seeking for something, right? If you're seeking, you have a backstory. We all have a backstory. So who's the developer? What is the mission? Where do we want to go with the student? What do we want it to accomplish? And what does it know already? Students, if you start going to university, you maybe have a basic understanding of what perspective, anatomy, color theory, and maybe you have taste already established to a certain degree. And then you have a story and you already know what kind of thing you want to get into. AI, in this case, I believe is kind of like a misuse. I don't know, I wouldn't send a robot to school because they already know everything. And at this stage, we are not ready yet, because I would love AI to go to school if it already has compassion, if it has intuition, if it has feeling. And I believe, and this is where we differ, that we will get there. And for example, there is a, have any of you watched Love, Death, Robots? Yes, okay, cool. Does anyone remember the episode Zima Blue?
I love it. It's my favorite.
Awesome. So Zima Blue, there is a robot. He is cleaning a pool.
If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Watch this episode. It's called Zima Blue. There's a little robot. He's cleaning a pool. All is good. And over the years, he gets restructured, enabled, updated, upgraded. Suddenly he can vacuum. He can do all these things. And to a certain degree, he's been passed on from generation to generation of developers and scientists and robotics engineers. And suddenly, he started developing consciousness. He starts painting. He starts asking himself questions. But nothing is ever good enough. He does big murals of universes, but he never really finds the thing until he finds that one certain color, which is called Zima Blue. First, he starts painting a small square, and the square gets bigger and bigger, and suddenly it becomes so large you need to put it like that big canvas is out of space, and you can see it from our perspective, from the world out there. It's just a big blue plane. And everyone is asking themselves, why does he do this? And his last performance piece is him, this beautiful man at this point. He's not looking like the machine anymore. He's like a beautiful black dude. I only have like this image. A beautiful black dude. People believe he's human at this point. They don't know that he's a machine. He jumps into the pool and he starts disintegrating himself. He becomes what he started out as. Because at the end of the day, every conscious being looks at their origin. We wonder where we come from, who our parents are, what our origin stories, our home country, our home religion. We go back. The older we get, the more we go back into our ancestry. And I believe the same thing is going to happen to machines. But it will take time. But I believe it will happen. And I think it's too early for this machine right now to become a student. It's not ready.
Oh, you do research on topics like that. Would you love to continue?
Yeah. God, I don't know where to start. So first about the story, it's also my favorite. Again, you have to watch it. Now that you've been here, it's excellent. It's a very beautiful story, and it speaks to us, and it speaks to you, and it spoke to me, precisely because we're human and we have a first-person perspective and a lot of emotion around it. But it is a piece of art, and it's not, I don't think it's the truth, and I'm personally very with using stories like that to make the argument of what is going to happen, and I don't think this is going to happen. I still very firmly think that these technical systems will not develop sentience in the way that humans have them anytime soon. One point that I want to make.
But why do you think so?
I think it would take longer time to, and I think people should work on the question, right? We never know a priori what science will, what results it will come to, so some people will have to continuously ask, are they sentient yet, right? It's an important question, and we cannot know, therefore we have to keep inquiring, because it might, of course, but the fundamental problem is always ignorance, so we cannot stop asking the question, yet I think currently it points towards, I personally don't think these metaphors hold, because exactly life is very, very different and formed in a continuously embodied way, interacting with its environment. And well, I've written a very detailed paper about it that I'm not going to be able to summarize right now. But I wanted to say multiple other things. So you spoke about that if the student goes to university, it's very clearly an it is not going to be able to learn over time. But that's, of course, I mean, AI is the fancy word for machine learning. So the systems are precisely about learning. So of course it could learn over time. And it's also what you said about we want something, we have desires, and we do in a fundamentally different way from AI systems. Yet, when you, for example, look at the reinforcement learning paradigm, the central theme of reinforcement learning is an agent that wants something, and then through reward of the environment and action learns how to interact with the environment. And the central paradigm is it wants something. Yet, again, it wants in a very different way than humans want. The other point you made about exactly us humans having a sexed experience, which I think is true, and it does affect how we see things. I think more fundamentally there is a human experience as well that is somewhat, I mean, but there is no human that is not sexed, yet first and foremost we are a first person perspective that is of course shaped by our embodiment that has been heavily influenced through our interaction with the physical reality and each other, which is what I actually find very relevant in this topic. That's why I also say the student would be an it, and even if you would put some breasts on or even a penis, it could not be a he or a she, because the development of sex is not something that happened by having certain attributes, but by a formation that has taken actually millions of years and has been, well, a process of co-evolution and not just the adding of certain attributes. But concepts are very difficult in practice, of course, so it's very hard to pin down categories. And then to the actual question, now that I've gone on a lot of tangents, of whether is this now progress, that this robot is studying at a university, I don't think so. I think exactly when you look through an evolutionary perspective, most things just don't work. That's why we precisely, right, knowledge is usually what works, and often we can know what works by looking at what has worked in the past. Most things will turn out to be errors. Often we do things like that because they sound fancy, right? There's probably someone at the university who can now write a lot of cool media reports of how they were the ones that made the robot sign up there. It is also cool, right? We have to continuously try new things, and it might work out, what do I know? But most likely it will turn out that whatever will work has always worked. It's going to go back to, well, we're humans, and there's going to be humans that are the students, and it has been a fun experiment which led to the conclusion that it didn't work, right? So that's what I would say, and that's just the trade-off between exploration and exploitation in finding solutions to things. And in the end, I think we're going to stick to humans, quite frankly. Very long answer.
It's fine. But do we have to? Have any of you have ever been asked if we, as human beings, are okay with AI being nearly everywhere? And let's think about that first. It's it's not a natural force, it's a human being, but it's a storm rolling in, and we just need to accept it, or what? We're discussing right now if AI students are real students. We know, each of you had an answer as well. Is AI real art? But are we forced right now to be okay with AI being everywhere without ever being asked? Like you said, it's like experiment. People having these theories, doing their stuff, and evolving, and we came that far that we even have an AI
so many
student.
Assumptions in there. What's even the question, right? We don't consent to most parts of reality; they just happen.
No, but is it like the force we need to accept right now?
Yeah, but what's the alternative? Should we ask steady state to forbid it? Right? People should do things that are going to happen. But that's my answer to the question.
I know. I agree that we can't control. I jumped into AI when I wanted to try it, but I wasn't expecting it to be here so fast. I thought this would be something that would happen in a further future. I wasn't expecting, when I tried it the first time, I was amazed by what I could, the quality was nothing comparing to what we can do now. It was really a lousy quality. It was like 2022. but seeing my thoughts in an image, even, it was, for me, it was mind-blowing. And I think, like, I also teach AI, like AI for images and videos, and for me, it's interesting that everyone tries it, because everyone thinks anyone can use it, and everything is possible. The thing is, it's a tool, and we're humans, and we have our experiences, our desires, our ambitions, and our thoughts are different, our essence, and it's just a tool. Of course, in theory, everything is possible. Actually, not everything is possible now with AI. AI is advancing very fast, but sometimes not fast enough, as I would wish. But anyway, it's like AI is already here. It has been for longer than we actually perceived it, but it's how you use it. Like, you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, you can use it for creating fake news, you can use it for creating art. But it is already, like, we can't control, like, at the pace it's gonna work. For me, it's a bit also, I wouldn't say frightening, but it's kind of challenging, the idea of keeping up to date with everything that's happening. It's almost impossible. Like, look how many aspects of our life AI has, like how do you say, like, it has taken over. Almost all of, like, so many of them, and it's like there's already talks about it taking over some other aspects we weren't expecting. So what are we doing? Like, just being scared, or actually trying to, I don't know, to learn a bit about it? We don't all have to use it, but, like, this is our new reality. This is our new future. Like, it's expanding in ways we weren't expecting.
What with the people that don't want to use it? Like him, he just said taking over. So all the others just don't want to, like, learn about it, get in touch with it, just need to surrender, and that's that. So everywhere AI, and we need to surrender. I don't want to use it, so I surrender, and that's that. Is this where we are going?
Good luck not using it. We're using it. We're using so many AI functions, like just Google search. There's AI summaries. There's AI behind almost everything we're doing digitally nowadays. And it's not of course you can be a purist and say, like, I want, like, people who would never use social media, you can stay out of it, but you're gonna miss some things in between. There's, like, you can go to an extreme, of course, and be really like a purist and say, like, no artificial intelligence whatsoever. But many people are against AI art, but they summarize a meeting in ChatGPT. So I don't think, I don't know. I think everyone should at least try it once to see if it's really like this. Like, everyone thinks AI, not everyone, everyone thinks differently, but many think that AI is like the solution to many problems. But I've had many talks with ChatGPT, and I don't trust ChatGPT. It makes so many mistakes. It corrects itself whenever I say, "Are you sure?" "Oh, yeah, you're right. I missed a point." And
it's trained itself.
Yeah, but it recognizes it has made a mistake only by me asking, "Are you sure?" So it's kind of, I don't trust it. Like, working with AI for images is correcting mistakes. Correcting mistakes. If you want to, like, Tiana has maybe another process. She paints it, actually, so she's able to control the final image. But I work only digitally, and for me, like, the retouching of an AI image is so much hard work. It's more work than retouching a photograph. Much more work.
In case people don't know.
Ah, yeah, those are mine.
I have not even said it, that these two paintings are
We did.
Yeah, I forgot. So yeah, that's my, like, we don't have to jump on the train, all of us, but we're all kind of using it in a way.
Yeah, but this question of consent, I mean, it's a good question. Like, think about parents who suddenly found that their kids were addicted to social media. Or like, even go back 100 years, and think about how cities used to look very different. And then cities were totally terraformed to suit cars. right? But human civilization isn't for automobiles, it's like for human beings. It's kind of in the name. So there is this thing about technology where there is this idea that your consent as an individual isn't that important. And it's true, it's not that important, but should it be that way? Like we are ultimately interested in what we are interested in. I don't think that Joe Rogan says that we are like, so the exact line was that human beings are like the sex organs for the machines. So we are only here so that we can birth the machines, and then the machines will take over.
That is correct. Unfortunately, it is correct.
It is correct?
Yes.
It's not.
I have a God theory, and I know I started with the God complex. I'm gonna like keep developing it. I painted a painting a few years ago. It's based on Christian iconography. It has the Virgin Mother holding a child, but the Virgin Mother is a machine, and the child is a human, and she's a surrogate. And the concept behind it is actually quite simple. If you're familiar at all with Christian lore, Jesus was born to a virgin, but he is basically the Son of God. So she was artificially inseminated, actually, if you think about it. Now, as humans, if we were to create a machine that were to be the surrogate of our offspring, we would do the exact same thing that in the Bible, in the lore of Christianity, God did with Jesus. God created this beautiful virgin, inseminated her, created Jesus, and he's supposed to be our savior, we look up to him, right? So now we are on the pursuit of doing the same thing. We already started doing surrogacy with people. Fertility is a big issue, and we will have to outsource that. We will have to start building, unfortunately, we will start to have to build bodies in order to grow humans, because you cannot just grow a human in a little tomb. You need to have that connection with the mother, a brain, consciousness, emotions, to deep code the child's brain. So we will start to create robots that carry the babies, and that, in a way, carries us forward, right? And it might forever be a symbiosis between human material, human flesh and DNA, and our robotics.
But how can you be so sure that it's going to be like a symbiosis? I mean,
it already is.
The other relationship
it already is. And I believe that once we get further, AI is going to see us as the same way we have our imaginary God that created us, that we know or we don't know where we're really from. AI is going to look up to us like that. So I believe it was you that said, hold on, I wrote this down because I found it interesting. You said, you quoted me about the God thing, and then you said, we are the machine God, right? Like, AI is the God, but I think it's the other way around. We are the God, and we are going to be God to AI. AI is almost, I believe, on the verge of understanding that and respecting it too.
I don't think so. God has to be greater than us, right? Like, you cannot create God. God creates you. Like, it's this strange inversion where
you don't believe you're greater than AI?
We currently, I obviously think we are much greater than AI.
And have you ever noticed that you're smarter than your parents?
Sometimes, in some cases,
yes.
They might be.
I have noticed that I know more than my parents. I know more languages, but still, as a child, you think of your parents as greater than you. And I think this is the kind of respect that AI is going to start to develop for us. It will understand that we are not as intelligent.
How do you think it will even feel respect?
Yeah, I think the AI we're creating, right, what I've also said before with this analogy of porn, I think it sucks a lot of deep meaning out of the soil or ground we stand on, because the artifact influences us back in certain ways. We can see it, for example, by, many people, a lot of what we like about art is what art is connected to. What I like when I see a painting in a museum is knowing the story of the artist and knowing that not only, is the artifact beautiful, but I know that by creating it, the artist himself self-actualized. It is a form of worship where he definitely sacrificed something for a very long time to be able to produce it. Just creating the surface artifact does not entail or is not connected to these other aspects at all. And quite to the contrary, it actually reduces these these other things that I value as part of the art, as we can, for example, see by people losing their jobs. But there will be less craftsmanship in many domains. There already is less craftsmanship in many domains. It is very central to what I find makes art beautiful, that there's actually a human doing something in the world. So there we can already see a loss of, well, the actual human value underneath. And in practice, for example, when we look at self-driving cars, or the point I want to make is that we create the artifact through a certain way how we see the world, maybe the machine metaphor, and then the artifacts we create shape back our reality. So for example, self-driving cars are a problem that we still have not solved, where there's different stages of how autonomous they could be. And to solve the problem, because the world is so complex, if we actually would want to solve it, we would have to restructure the world. We would have to build way easier roads and actually standardize them so that AI is able to, well, actually comprehend the environment and behave in it. So our world and us would be shaped back towards the systems in a way that's not necessarily, well, beautiful. I think it creates more ugliness in many ways. Because did you say, speak about fractals, right? Like fractal nature is a big part of what makes nature beautiful, and to fit our world more to the machine metaphor, we would actually destroy a lot of this information complexity. Deeper than that, actually, what makes humans able to be humans is symbolic code. Culture is a process of meaning creation that is, per definition, symbolic. And, well, LLMs and other systems are now participating in it. And I would say the output it creates is both visually and as text, it's bullshit, because it's not connected to truth. It's not connected to our coordination as humans, so it makes us less able to make sense and solve our problems.
I lost you. What are LLMs?
Large language models, right? They are already bots on social media.
ChatGPT.
Propaganda. When we look also historically, right, we know that the geopolitical warfare has partially been mimetic, right? Like just planting certain ideas that make it less possible for humans to coordinate in a country. And well, these agents do have their sub goals. They are producing a lot of output. I by now lost the point of that I originally wanted to make, but I think it makes things uglier, and it is definitely destroying value, and it's not, there's no reason to assume it will just automatically be a symbiotic relationship, because it currently is already not. It definitely is not.
Yeah, like what if it's a hostile relationship?
This is the proof that this is a goddamn symbiotic relationship.
No, it is proof that it is possible to be symbiotic, but it's not the general case. It's an example.
Every time you communicate with AI, it's a conversation. That's a symbiosis. It is a back and forth.
In your case?
No, in every... AI doesn't talk out of nowhere. AI doesn't have its own ideas. It doesn't have its own creativity. AI talks back because you give it a quest, you give it a task, you give it a reason.
But it also has its own goals, right? And that are programmed.
But isn't that your claim that
like,
in the future?
for example, the attention it grabs actually.
I don't think it has its own goals yet. I think it might be programmed to have a certain direction that it's being taken to. When I talk to ChatGPT, it gets very political really quickly, and it doesn't like the things that I say, and I think that you can agree with that, you know. Maybe you noticed that too. I can tell that they have an opinion. They have a goal where they want to like maybe steer me to, or make sure that I don't make a social or political faux pas. But it doesn't really have its own drive, right? So that's why it's a symbiosis.
I think I just made many arguments where there is a drive, right, in certain direction, and we can already see it. So I agree that it's possible to have symbiotic relationships with AI systems, but
most
it's not
people
the general
use
case.
AI, like you said, the stuff's driving cars that we haven't figured out yet. But the car is driving something. It's a cart that is carrying something, human life. That in itself is a symbiosis. Granted, maybe the human is not.
Externality.
Huh?
It has an externality, right? Like, for example, rebuilding all the roads so that it can drive is a very large cost, right? Like any economic action.
But still, there is a co-function. There is always a conversation. There is a dance. There is a give and take. There is a
interaction. Yes, not symbiosis. What I would say.
Well, without us, AI wouldn't exist. And we would exist without AI, but we might not be as efficient. And this is why it's such a huge selling point. And I think we should stick with, because we talked about consent, and that's a very, very big topic in the art industry, that artists are being stripped of consent. And I think we should go into that.
We will. Would you like to put something into this discussion? We just having, and it was supposed to be like that for all of you. So the crossfire was meant to be like that, you just talking and like.
Yeah, I think maybe we were talking before as AI in art, and then we got we talked about other. So I got lost a bit in the actual question. If you could repeat it, if what was the actual?
No, the question was actually that: are we supposed to surrender and just take AI as it is and accept this storm that is rolling into, or just find a way to choose or not to choose? And then it got quite.
You're not going to survive otherwise.
But I disagree. So so you talked about surrogacy.
Well, let me give you an example, and then please disagree.
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say in the art world, a lot of artists right now are losing job to people who are using AI, because the people who are using AI, they're faster. Their quality is higher. They're not just using AI to create an image. But for example, like me and my friends, we're using AI to get to the point quicker. Clients, they cherish that, they value that. They don't care how it was done, how the sausage is made. They just want the product, they want it as cheap as possible, and they want it the highest quality possible. That's why I think we won't be able to survive without it, because it's starting to become a standard whether people like it or not. And if the big corporations won't use it, for example in the movie industry, if they won't use AI, small boutique studios are going to use it, and they will take the jobs from the big corporations. They are going to be cheaper, have less workforce, be faster. Now please disagree.
No, I agree with all of that, but do you think any art critic in the history of the world has ever written a review of a painting and started it like this? It was cheaper, faster, and more efficient, and that's why it's a masterpiece.
It wouldn't have been done if it wasn't. The art critic wouldn't have anything to talk about.
My point being that something about art isn't about the efficiency aspect of it. It's not a factory, right? It's not.
I disagree, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the creation of art is extremely expensive.
I totally agree. No.
I think maybe if I would say my perspective, the way I work with AI, it's like maybe faster to try out my ideas, but as you paint, that's a process that takes time.
It's a luxury.
For me, I come also from photography, and for me it's like refining the image, but because the image I create the first time, it's like it has such a small resolution, and it doesn't have good quality, and the teeth are terrible, and the eyes are square, and it doesn't look very realistic. It looks a bit like a bit
uncanny valley.
Digital, yeah. And so it's not real. But for me, my process is trying to make it more human and more real, and adding this detail that failed, that wasn't generated at the first time, and working with traditional digital retouching, with the tools, with the digital tools, not AI, working with digital tools, and it takes me hours to finish an image.
And that's the point. The perfection is the point.
Yeah, but it's the human touch. Because if I would never, and every time I teach AI, I said never use the final output from AI. Mm-hmm. You always have to finish it up. If you want the quality, if you have the standards of how how an image should look, and you want to do a good composition, good colors, good grading, good whatever. You can get as technical as you want. Mm-hmm. But I think something I also I experience with students is that for me I have this background. I like the photography, the architecture, and you see it in my work. I wouldn't be able to do my work if I didn't have this experience retouching. But the kind of work I'm doing, anyone can create AI images, but the detail comes from this part of me. And I see, I have clients that are hairdressers, accountants, or people with other kind of background. They're food photographers, and they have all this baggage, this knowledge, and it reflects in what they do. So it's I could never create an image like a stylist would do. because I don't have the knowledge, and like maybe I'm drifting away.
But the skills are important.
It's like
you need to know your skills.
You need to know how to describe an AI. What your, for example, in the case of portraits,
Having
what
a
your
visual
model
library is
wearing.
important.
You need to have the knowledge, the words to describe it. So for me, it's like every time I teach someone the tool, like how they should use it, I'm surprised by what they create with their own words, with their own knowledge, and with their own ideas and experiences, because they know what they're looking for. They know what they want to create. Everyone comes with their own ambitions, their own like dreams of being creative. Everyone's creative in a different way. Even for me, a student that I had, she said, I'm just an accountant. And I was like, doesn't matter. You have ideas. With AI, you can easily put them into a final image. And for her, it was the first time doing something creative. We're all creative in different ways. But I find that it has to do, like, that's where I think going back to the robot studying art, is like, of course it can learn, but I'm thinking learning from, like, where is it starting to learn? What is it building from?
Yes.
And I think, I'm repeating myself now, but it's so rich to see what everyone can create with their own history, with their own knowledge, with their own,
Okay, so let's go back to the question that was quite important to Carlos as well. We need to accept the fact that AI is everywhere. And then either use it. Yeah, okay, let's just then finish that one. Yeah, please. So.
No, I mean, that's just a human condition, right? The world is a certain way, things happen, you have to deal with it. You don't have to decide whether you lay and present your belly or, oh no, this is happening, complete drama, right? Like, I mean, interact with it, make your choices, and nobody's going to ask you whether you're consenting to how the world is developing. But of course, I mean, there are some political questions, right? Should there be things that should not be allowed, that are very legitimate questions, and there are things that should not be allowed, because the central question is, well, as we've said, technology puts way more power in the hands of the individual. There are individuals with very bad intentions. If we can create way stronger weaponry with AI, which we can, there's the idea by Nick Bostrom called the vulnerable world hypothesis, which is the idea, well, there's always going to be people that don't like the world as it is and want to destroy things. If there's way more power in the hands of the individual, there's going to be way more risk for, well, existential risks for things to get destroyed. So there could be the argument, and Nick Bostrom makes the argument, that we need actually this kind of panopticon where everyone is constantly observed, so things like this don't happen. I very strongly disagree with creating such a state, because state power should be limited as much as possible. Yet, of course, there should be some laws to forbid obviously negative things, right? But there's the political question here, and then there's the personal question. I think just the framing doesn't really make any sense of, like, should we just accept how? I mean, no. I mean, things are happening. The world is emerging in a very complex process, and then you have to find your personal stance towards it. And of course, you may have some impact also by, for example, well, advocating against things which I find rather boring options, sadly, using it in a constructive way, developing better methods, creating safer systems. But it's I think just like the question, in a sense, is, I don't like it very much, but otherwise, which is fine.
It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, I know. So those were some of the thoughts.
But isn't maybe like I think like many people have this like rejection and this fear that's very present. For example, in the creative industry, like AI for image and video, I come from this bubble, from creatives like traditional filmmakers and photographers, and they're really scared.
Of course they are. That's what we have a welfare system.
Yeah, so it's like, of course, we adapt and we accept the reality, but sometimes, and for some people, this reality is scary.
This is something we're going to continue with. You disagree about a few things, but this is something you have in common. You agree, like this feeling of being insecure, of being afraid of what will the future bring. I talk to each of you, this uncertainty, you know, this is the word you prefer, but those two like told me it is being, even if they use it, they are being afraid of what does the future bring. Same with you.
Well, but what's the question?
We'll now continue with this fear with this uncertainty thought?
Well, it is, I cannot predict the future, right? There are things about the future which are going to surprise me. But it would be a really massive surprise for me if a machine purely creates art on its own. And that's sort of the test, you know. It would have to have the motivation and then develop its own style. It would need the background story. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I do want to touch on something. So we were talking about how, you know, you have this possibility of like AI becoming conscious at one point, and how you know, even right now, like forget about that, right? Like even just take the situation right now. It's making things cheaper, faster, more efficient. You know, the world's fastest runner is Usain Bolt, that, you know, Olympian, and I'm faster than him actually, if I have a car. Right? And if I have a scooty, I'm faster than the world's fastest man. But people still watch him, and people still watch, you know, human beings run the 100 meters, 200 meters. So I mean, it's super inefficient. You're way faster with a horse, you're way faster with a car, but something about peak human performance is very enthralling. It's very interesting.
It's very expensive.
I don't care about expensive. That's the point of art.
For example, a lot of artists love to create art.
But hold on, just 1 second. I have to finish my point, which is that the expense is the point. I want it to be expensive because that filters out the casual people, the ones who are not serious, the ones who are not sincere. I want it inaccessible because that filters for what I want, which is sincerity, authenticity, actual commitment.
It's a luxury that not many people have. A lot of artists are starving right now. And that is a huge problem. We've been talking about AI as a global issue, but we really have to go into where the actual fear comes from. Not just the performance issue, but also what a lot of artists claim is theft, right? AI knows things from what? From people like us.
Exactly.
They say it steals, I say it trains, right? Because the database, like AI learns from a certain database and then it simply just knows things, right? It knows how things work. It knows how a style looks like, what a human face looks like. And it uses other people's fingerprints, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll come back to that.
Ah.
Anna, do you believe that us being insecure because of AI is justified or not? You as cognitive scientist.
Well, again, I don't like the insecure because it's a very strong word.
Uncertain.
Yeah, of course we should be uncertain, right? We don't know how the future is going to be. We can see that already a lot of things are happening. They will have huge consequences, good and bad. I think there's a lot of reason why uncertainty is positive and negative. It's exciting and it shows, well, downsides. There's reason to be very optimistic because it will indeed solve many things. I think there's lots of progress in biotech and so forth, lots of deep new insights. It's extremely exciting. At the same time, it will change warfare. Fundamentally, it already does. When we look at what the drones are already capable of in even now the Ukraine war, all these things are already happening. And at the same time, it has always been like that. I think Douglas Murray says we've always stood at the precipice. We never, like when you look back, the history is now written, and now it feels like it has always needed to be how it now has been. But that's never the case, and we never know whether we will make it over the next challenges. And I think, well, it has both. Right? It has the positive attribute. There's a lot of exciting things in there. It has very, very deep risks. We never know what's going to happen, and in the end, you need faith that it will turn out well, and then you need action to do what you can do to make it go well, right? Yeah. Positive outcomes don't happen passively, they happen by many people doing certain things and then a picture emerging. So if you're worried about something, do something against it, act accordingly, and well, be prepared for extremely strong changes in your way as well, because they're probably going to come.
Right? So the history is written, it's here, it's present. Let's continue with written by blood. Would you say that art is defined more what the creator feels while writing, or by what the audience feels when having the experience with this piece of art? Never mind if it's like a piece of work, or like a novel or a text you have written.
Yeah, but the reader cannot feel fire in the words unless I put it there. there are certain emotional, human beings know how to like mimic each other, and we can also do it with art. You can put a lot of like pain and sadness into a painting, and then anyone who looks at the painting also feels that. But you need to put it in. Again, the machine does not know pain, does not have any internal restlessness, any fire, so there's nothing that the machine is putting into it. What is the machine doing? Is that the machine is, it's like, think of it like as an infinite remixer. Just like imagine like a remixing machine with like infinite bandwidth. That's all that we are dealing with here. When I look at a piece of art which touched me, I always know that the thing which is touching me had an organic origin. It sort of emerged from the body of a human being. The reason I'm also not super scared about AI and AI art is that part of what makes the artwork even work across different generations is this sort of like the deep humanity of it. In the sense that like, how is it that we read stories from 2,000 years ago and it still resonates and it still works for you? It's because the human beings 2,000 years ago were also wrestling with the same problems that you're wrestling with. So that innate instinctive knowledge of the human condition is something that the machine does not have. So all that it is a shadow of a shadow of a shadow. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. And if and people ask this question, right?
Every story that was ever written, it's a copy of a copy of a copy.
But then the breakthroughs in art are genuine, original leaps forward.
There is no original. Everything is an idea that is based on an archetypal story that was stolen from another archetypal story that was stolen from another archetypal story.
Which then means that someone came up with it the first time.
Yes, but we have an innate understanding of these archetypes. It's like ingrained in us,
Because we are, exactly. So it's not ingrained in the machine.
It is, because by default we created a machine to understand the world through our lens, through our symbolism.
So in your painting, this woman is sort of like stuck in a net. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to like break out of the net?
Yes.
So this sensation of being stuck.
Yes.
It's not something a machine can ever feel. It's something you've felt and you have captured in your work.
I don't need the machine to feel it. I need you to feel it. I need you to feel it.
But
I need her to feel it.
It's from you to them. The machine is a tool.
I think there's a different thing. You're talking about AI art as it would be only created by a machine, and the machine is trained, but the user, the one creating the AI art, that's a person.
Yeah, but then it's human art.
Yeah, but it's like, what do you mean?
Then it's human art, but it's grounded in the human.
It would be but it's like AI doesn't have this, as you said. How did you put it in which words that you were talking about the blood, yeah.
So if humans use AI to do art, I agree it's art. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're then going back to the example of the student, for example, the AI student, and I think we all agreed that wouldn't. Yeah, but anyway, I think like if we're talking about AI art used, like created by a human, of course, because your question was if it would be like. Sorry.
No. There was just a question with Rhythm with Blood and the emotion. One is art. Is it the process or the creative while art is being creative, or then the experience in between the work and the person experiencing it?
Yeah.
This is I do want to point something out. This is really a question of substitutes. So you're saying that imagine a very highly intelligent AI system. It hasn't actually.
No, I want to have your opinion about it.
Yes.
What is for you the real process? What is the art? Is it you writing, in your example, you writing whatever you want to write, what you feel because it's written with blood, it's your life experience?
Yeah.
Or is the art then, for example, her reading it and feeling probably your life experience or being triggered by yours and then feeling her own in a totally different personal way? That was the question. So
both are, it's like cathode anode. It's like both are necessary for the electric circuit to complete. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
the artifact is the art.
Sorry?
The artifact is the art. But
No, it's about his opinion,
Yeah.
because
I think that's the first mover is very important, that first sort of instinct, right? That first sort of like urge to create, which is something a machine cannot have. It cannot have urges. It can be used as a tool, but it cannot have the instinctive desire to create. And I also think that I mentioned the word substitute for a reason, right? So people have this assumption these days that you can substitute things very easily. So people tried to substitute food with Soylent. You know that company, Soylent? They tried to like, create this liquid which was a substitute for like real food. And we live in an age where people are trying to like find substitutes. So, relationships become situationships, and, food becomes Soylent, and friendships become like, online interaction. So substitute everywhere. So I believe that AI we're so attracted to it, we're so tempted by it, because we're tempted to substitutes. And ultimately, the substitute can never be the real thing.
May I say something? I think, for example, images are now seen as content. So many people are talking about, because of social media and how the images spread, it's like content. I create content. It's new content. Or it's this focus on images, or it's just visual clutter the whole time. Everything has to be represented visually. And of course, you can talk about art, you can talk about advertisements. It's all based on images. But, and I'm getting a bit lost here, but it's like, for me, it's like, it can be, AI makes it so easy to create this content. But what is quality content? What is even art? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I get a bit like infuriated about the idea that anyone can just create an AI image, and it's just many things are just copies from these cliches that are the visual, this visual, how would I put it, like what the AI understands that something is, like your subject. I work with I call it a collage of words, and for my images are a collage of everything that I have in my mind, and I make it so detailed that it doesn't literally copy something, for example. Because of course, as you said, AI is a tool. And for me, it's a tool where I can mix and match, like you said, remix something. And of course, it depends how much you put of yourself, like how detailed your prompt is, for example, the formula you're writing, like how detailed you go, you can tell a story that the AI on its own couldn't create. Because it's failing this.
So the tool advanced, right?
The tool?
The tool advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 4 more questions for the site, and we talked about the algorithm yesterday. And no matter how much it advanced, can ever truly replicate the neurological processes that underlie human creativity. What do you think about it as a cognitive scientist?
Well, exactly. Human cognition is not purely algorithmic. I don't even know where to start to make the argument, because it seems so obvious. I don't even know how to work.
Yeah, then just put it on a point.
Sorry?
Then just put it on a point.
Yes,
if it's that obvious, just put it on a point.
It's not that obvious. It is actually quite an elaborate argument. But I mean, algorithms are inside formal systems, right? And in formal systems, you can start to calculate precisely what the optimal action would be. But for humans, we can use formal systems, right? We can make a choice of how we abstract from something. For example, when I go and play chess, chess is very easy to formalize. There are very specific rules, and because it has very precise rules, now I can become an expert chess player and win exactly at this very easily formalizable game. But humans have to flexibly abstract from the world, and then in this you can be algorithmic and human creativity, I love it. In this you can be algorithmic to actually, optimize for it. But the real world is way more complex. It's a statistical large world, and the main creativity is usually exactly this choice of an ongoing creation of abstractions that help you to solve it. And exactly this problem of posing the problem of the world correctly in an ongoing manner, that's what makes biological systems and humans way more capable, even though AI gets closer and closer to it, I have to say. So that's exactly the question of general artificial intelligence. And I mean, it is clearly getting closer and closer. There's no question about it. But I still think human creativity is different and non-algorithmic in a profound way.
It's like original voice.
For example.
Let's call it, you were discussing about it. So can there still be something like an original voice in case one day AI can generate books, poetry, even philosophy, and get its original voice, like Laura mentioned, with her own emotions?
Can AI be original?
Yeah.
Ultimately, my final position on that is that, let it try. I'm okay competing with AI, and if AI wants to try and compete with us, I love competition. I think every true artist competes with great artists in the past, with great artists of his own generation. So if AI wants to, be ambitious and creatively, egotistical, and if it wants to be its own voice, then let it try. I think it will lose, but I actually believe it will never even want to do that. So, no.
Can I add something?
Just one last question. What I found was quite funny is that before, when we had this discussion about is it then human art or not being human art, if a human being uses AI as a tool and creates a piece, a work, is it then human art or not? Because before you told it is. Do you still agree with that?
Yeah, of course. If a human uses AI as a tool, it's human art, of course.
Okay, and if one day we can't tell whether a poem, a painting, or a novel was created by a human or AI, what exactly will we have lost in case we lost anything? What then in that situation? You can't even recognize it. And look at all the paintings. Do you recognize if it is with AI generated or not?
Well, my argument is that none of them are AI generated, because even Laura's work and Tiana's work are emerging from their soul and their heart and their life and their emotionality. I think that day will never come, but if it does, it's kind of an interesting, the whole Turing's test thing, we have crossed the threshold when you cannot tell if you're talking to a robot or a human being, right? That's supposed to be the Turing test. And I've always felt like that's an interesting test to have. Your test is how good you are at scamming me. That's a weird sort of a test to have, a test of progress. So yeah, I think a sustained interaction with a human artwork will always be rewarding, and sustained interaction with pure machine art. This is not pure machine art. A sustained interaction with pure machine art would always be shallow. So you will always be able to tell.
Because I think AI cannot have its own style, create as you said, something original. AI is always copying something. And if you're steering the wheel and you're saying, no, I want you to do this, like this, a bit more like this, and please also like this, then you're taking control.
It's basically your brush. You're controlling it, yeah.
You're using, as you said, remixing. You're doing a collage of ideas and things and feelings and everything you want to put into it, but you have to create a prompt. For me, my problem since I started working with AI is that my work is being remixed. People are stealing my images, putting them up in the AI and blending them together. Blending is the term for mixing images together. So it's they're not using the idea, they're replicating the style, the optic of the image. Even though I see the image, I see the copies, and I say, that's not what I would have done. It's what AI thinks my work looks like. And it's failing in this very, very important thing. It's what story are you telling? It's just a literal copy, and the AI is very good at copying. People saying it was now with Studio Ghibli, it was make me ChatGPT, make me an image of my dog in the style of Studio Ghibli. I find that an abomination. That's terrible.
Tiana, how do you feel about it? I mean, AI using or training itself with your skills?
Thank you. I believe that AI does have a style. If you have ever used Midjourney versus Dali, you can tell the difference, right?
Yeah, but it's taking from somewhere.
But it shows us something. It shows us that a visual library is very important. A visual library is something that you can gain by yourself by going to the museums often enough, and you start doing master copies. Master copies is when you're copying a painting to the brushstroke, you're studying it. And this is what we synthesized with artificial intelligence. We figured out how to make AI understand brushstrokes, understand shapes and stuff like this. And Laura finally gave this point that I'm really trying to get to, because I think this is the deal breaker for artificial intelligence currently. Our work gets taken, trained, and reused by other companies basically for free, and we don't win anything from that. And Laura also said something really interesting, that we are content creators. Every single one of us in this room, whether you can draw, paint, photograph, as soon as you post something out there, you're creating a content, which is what? It's value. But we don't get compensated for it. The companies, the big ones, they take all of these data and they sell it to other companies. So what I want to get to is, what if we figure out a way to create artificial intelligence, a platform, where every time your image gets trained on, you get financially compensated. Every time someone is using, or every time AI is generating an image in your name, you're getting compensated. So how could we do this? We already have the technology. You're probably familiar with blockchain, like for example, Bitcoin or NFTs. There is a way to package crucial data in every metadata, in every single image that has been generated. You can package how many percentage of each artist's work has been used, and therefore you can create a certain passive income, royalties, for each time they're using your image for training or for generating. Now, I could take this one step further. What if we put this on a platform that sells art? How can we sell digital art the best, the safest? NFTs. That's what we have right now. So here's the thing. I, as an artist, really don't want to do any tech stuff. It bores me to death. I want someone else to take care of it. So what if we create a platform where everyone profits? The platform itself, the artists who upload and who create with AI, the developers who create the AI, and, for example, miners. Let's say you create a whole wall of images through AI, and a miner is like, I think this image has potential. I'm going to mine this image. Therefore, they're putting value in it. They're turning it into an NFT. It is being put into the gallery, and then someone can buy it. Who is going to profit off of it? Of course, the gallery, if they sell, the online gallery, the artist who created the image, and the person who minted it in the first place. This is where I believe we can go to ensure a safety net for artists. And the reason why I'm bringing this up and why I really believe in this is because we've already been there. This is not the first time we are having this fight. 20 years ago, anyone remembers LimeWire? Anyone remembers Pirate Bay? Anyone remembers Kinox.to? All these were platforms where you could illegally stream or download content. It was either music, movies, series, whatever your heart desires, it was free. Before that, you could buy CDs or DVDs, and that was that. And suddenly there's this new illegal way to get, you don't even have to get out of the house. And it's free, but it's illegal. And then companies like Apple iTunes were like, well, why don't we make it super, super easy for the consumers to never leave the house? We'll put a small price tag on each song that they can download, and it's legal, and everyone wins. The same thing happened then with streaming. I never thought that people were going to pay for a streaming platform, but here we are. People see value in content that is packaged on a nice platform. And now we have to do the same thing for artists who are using or not using artificial intelligence. So you don't have to just be putting in this platform, this hypothetical platform that I'm telling you. You can just upload any image that you ever wanted. And as soon as you upload it, it goes into the database of the AI that is being trained exclusively on this content, on this footage, on this art pieces. Once we get this done, and maybe similar things, for example, a basic income for anyone who's creating any sort of value on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we have a solution for many, many problems.
But Tiana, it's a solution for being compensated, right?
Yes.
But what's the solution of being like your own original way to create your works? How can they like be secure in this world when it gets accessible for each and everybody?
Repeat this question in a different way.
So this was the solution for being paid for once doing the original part, which AI uses to
Train and
itself.
generate.
Right. So we have that part, but imagine, like, let's project into the near future. If AI generated art becomes accessible for everyone and to everyone, and that's how I understood it with the comparison to Limeware. What then remains unique to you, to the real artist, from the way you think, your emotions?
There is no such thing as a real artist.
No, but it's you.
Well, no. Everyone can be an artist. If you create something that people want to buy, that's art.
It's a product.
But do we want art to be a product?
It is already. Because if you put a price tag on this, god damn it, it's a fucking product.
For sure. Yeah, but the product can be non-artistic.
But it's like that's also the reason I don't call myself an artist. Like, I think like it depends. Like, I think we all have maybe a different opinion. Like, for me, it was like creating the images that I'm now exhibiting, and it for me was like what I did to get better and to practice and to explore. And it was like selling this. It felt like something so like I didn't want to feel like it was a product. It's also
Does it felt like taking away?
It's like commercializing what commercializing in a way like the things that are so close to me, so personal, like because these images are personal for me. I do client work and I never show it online, but I live from client work, and for me, like starting to exhibit my work and show it, it's something so personal, and also put in a price to it. It's something very, like I was never expecting to do it because it was work I created to practice and get better and learn and explore. And it was just, using my creativity and using.
That's absolutely up to you, and you don't have to. You don't. No one is ever having a gun up to their head and said, go sell this or put it online. No, but I'm saying there's so many ways that we're being screwed over as people and as artists who are constantly sharing things for free. We should start to be smart about it and create platforms where we actually profit off of all that value that we create in any kind of art, even for you. As soon as you make a post on Twitter, I would want you to fall asleep and someone in Australia, because they like it, you get compensated for it, you know? And already there's platforms like that, but not for artists in specific, not with this technology that I have already proposed that already exists. We have to all package it in one. And I really truly believe there is something to it. People are starting to talk about, well, because AI is taking all our jobs away, we need a basic universal income. I don't believe in a basic universal income, because as soon as you get free money, you're gonna splurge it. You see it with people who get like unemployment. They don't use their money wisely. But if you give people a philosophy that everything that they create has a value, everything that you share has a value, and you can get credits or points or money for it, it changes everything. Suddenly you're being more cognizant about what you're posting, what you're creating, why you're posting this. Yeah?
I think what historically has just worked really well is patronage, right? Which was people identifying other artists they really like and then giving them the space to do whatever they want, right? Precisely not having to actually do what someone else specifically wants from them, so to get paid for it, but actually creating spaces where the monetary feedback just like no longer is really relevant, because otherwise it's just a product. And I find it I find it somehow offensive to like have art. Exactly, it comes back to art as porn, right?
Well, we have to eat.
Porn.
We have to eat.
Of course, but you can also work in a supermarket for 30 hours, and then you can.
Yeah, but I'm too smart to work in a supermarket for 30 hours.
But
I have been.
No,
maybe
I'm
to
saying
tell
it's a minimal requirement. You can do any kind of job.
Why would I not be
art.
compensated for something that I have
Nobody
studied
owes
my
you
entire
anything.
life?
Like, that's a political question. Nobody owes you anything. You do want to do the art, right? And you do create.
But she's like searching for a political solution, like
You are saying
economic
that art
solution.
has no value.
No, I'm not saying that. I say art is tremendous value, and therefore you should do it because you want to do it, and you should not do it purely as a product that makes you money. Therefore you should do a different thing to have, as they call it, fuck you money, so you can just do whatever you want, which is the art that actually speaks to your heart. But nobody owes you money for the art that you're doing.
You're assuming that I'm creating certain art to please other people. That is not true.
If you want to make money with it, that's just how the economic system works, right?
Unfortunately, that's how every system works. Every system. Do you think that I loved being in the VFX industry? It fucking sucks, man. You're someone's robot all day fucking long. You're full of ideas and someone else takes credit for it, and you're lucky if at the end of the movie your name is on there. At the end of the day, something that you designed, a fucking director who has never been able to do a stick figure puts his name on it, and there you go. No, I would love to fucking make money with this. What do you think, guys? But I can't. Because it takes what? It takes all of you guys. It takes network. It takes exposure. This is... Academics, it's easy for academics. They have all the funding in the world. I can go study, I get my fucking master's and PhD, and then I go network and say, hey, I have some great idea about, I don't know, neuroscience, artificial intelligence, give me some money,
Academia
put it up my ass,
precarious job
and then,
for most people. That's
because I have a PhD.
Sorry, but have you looked at but academia is a completely precarious job for most people. It's as much...
It is not a job. You're stealing other people's ideas. You're collecting everyone's work. You call it research. You get them funding for it? For what? You get money for other people's work. That is what academia is. We artists, we create for what? For free. For free. So, the great developers, the technicians out there, they can feed their amazing, super smart machines and completely disregard us. I am for AI, but I am also for the ethical sourcing of AI. And we have the technology. However, artists are not capable to speak for themselves as well as other people are. Because all we want to do is create. This is our life. This is our purpose in life.
And I would love to end with that sentence, because this is something you said before today, like it needs to be ethic. So actually, if you use it, in case you use AI, and for the future and whatever, you said that there need to be ethical standards. So this is actually something you are, I guess all of you have in common and won't disagree about that sentence right now. Or would you?
I mean, ethics is the
ethics sounds
good
good.
life. So we need it to be good. Yes, that's basically.
Yes.
No, but I try to get both sides of you. No, why isn't she? I guess you love what you do.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good point. But this is something that das Leben ist kein Wunschkonzert, how we would say it in German. But I earn money every day by doing something I love, and this is something I guess I wish for you. You can say. And why wouldn't they too be able to say it the same way?
No,
but see,
life is a lot of work, and I think
but of course, but they have done their work.
And then some parts we love. It's just like it's a platitude. I don't want to say the sentence.
Okay, it's fine, and you're not saying. But I want to have you two not fighting right now. So each of you has done the work,
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have to find consensus, right? We're independent people.
Of course you don't, but I thought it was nice to stop with that sentence, because this is something you agree actually with. Then if you are or not are for AI art, this is another thing. But do you have any questions? The audience.
Let's open it up.
If you have, we have heard a lot. If you have a question either for Laura, Tiana, Jash, and Anna, just feel free. This is now the question and answer round for you. Because I think we can talk like this for 3 more hours, and it will always get to a beginning. But that's the topic. That is why I opened it. That's why the introduction was like the introduction was. This is the topic we discuss about for maybe not hundreds, but a lot of years. Mm-hmm. First question.
Okay, for me it's like the theme is like AI is real art, Actually, I would like to say AI is not artist and AI is also not real art. But if someone like create art with the AI, the person is an artist and then the product is a real art.
Sure.
So that's it. And then the second is, if for example someone come up as an artist like working with the AI because they want to get like the result, the best result, they can do it. They can do it. But the appreciation is from people like if the quality is good or if the value is good or not. That is depend on the appreciation of the person. And for example, now I have a question to all of you here, because this is a piece of art like done traditionally from Tiana. She used like the oil painting, and then this is done from Laura by AI, and then printed up to work like with touches and so on. And then now I want to put in the middle of this artwork the banana, put it on the wall, right? And if you would like to choose, because all of them they said art, and even for example now I read in the Instagram an article, they said invisible statue. This is like they call modern art, and people like say like amazing invisible statue. You don't see it, but the artist said I created with the emotion and everything, and then they sold $14,000.
16,500 I heard.
So yeah, this is crazy. Now I want to ask you, like, if there is some like piece of art, which one, for example, from this side to choose as a real art, and which one from this side and to choose a real art, the banana on the wall in the middle of this piece of art. You know what?
What's in the middle?
So imagine the banana
because-
taped on the gallery wall.
The banana.
In between the Laura's works and Tiana's work.
Oh, that one, that
and
particular
which one would you choose being real art? That's the question.
You talk about the hardest experience.
Yeah, I think they're both real artists. I think they're you can feel their personality in, you know, very different styles.
This one, right?
Yeah, both of them. I think, yeah.
So that means you already admit that this is a real art.
Of course, because they made a human beings.
But we've said this multiple
Actually,
times
that was
now.
clear. For me, it was clear in the beginning when you started your speech, when you actually have that prepared sentence that it is real art. But
I think
Tiana, like Anna also told about that. Therefore, like I really like the part. I'm also artist. I'm teaching also in the university. It's horrible for me. Every time I come, like every year, and student asking me why we have to learn something, because everybody can create art just writing the prompt. As a teacher, I'm really have a difficulty to explain. I said not even answer. I tell them why you coming to this university to learn art. So you already make a decision. You come to my class, you want to learn art. So please learn with me, something like that. Therefore, like I like both of them, the opinion, and both of them has a value. And for me as an artist, I never use AI until now. So I know the AI creates something, but me, I never use it until now. So I want to stay in my personality, my emotion, and so on and so on. But I didn't say to people who use art, that's a bad thing or something. So the only thing is the only choice is I use it or not. So that's it.
good point. Is another question?
I have a question. So it was very interesting and fascinating your, let's say, your courage of challenging the AI competition. So my question is, okay, it's cool, but what if AI wins?
what if it becomes conscious, or?
What if you, at some extent, at some point, you just realize that you're not needed anymore?
Yeah, I doubt it.
It's not about doubt.
Yeah.
It's just.
It's a fight then. It's a.
What if?
So then.
What if?
Yes.
What if you're wrong? What if?
Yes. So in that case, I compete with AI the way I compete with other writers. I mean, I'm in competition with J.K. Rowling, C.S. Lewis, Sherlock Holmes. Like, if I'm a writer, I have to compete with Sherlock Holmes. So if AI wants to compete and enter the field, it can.
but don't you see the difference between the human beings and the AI as they are? Because AI, at the extent as we speak, and we understand that it's getting, well, even as it is now, and we all know the way it works and the way it let's say, recreates itself and it educates itself. Even now, it's frightening. I mean, frightening in good way, in bad way as well. But in 2-3 years' time, I don't know.
Well, I mean, species come and go. Human being is a species, and who knows how long we will last. But I don't think it's going to be machines. I think these are not the things which are going to replace us. It's very difficult to think about a what if when you're convinced it's never going to happen.
Why not?
Yeah, but I have not seen anything. So one thing I like to ask is, okay, ChatGPT apparently is super brilliant and understands language. Like, where is that one great book written by ChatGPT? Where is it? So with a lot of these AI systems, there is so much profit in hyping them up. I want the outcome. Like, I'm okay competing with ChatGPT, but I actually want to see some brilliant new creation. And so the hype is always faster and bigger than the actual product.
Okay, but as we understand, so what we're talking about now is that AI is, well, some share this opinion that AI is a tool, right?
Is it?
It's like a brush. It's a tool in the hands of artists.
Exactly.
So then the whole discussion is who leads, the brush or the artist?
But what do you think? Obviously the artist.
No, you're saying that the brush or not? Or maybe I misunderstood.
No, so I'm saying that the artist leads. It's AI is the brush, but the brush is never going to go left or right or up or down. It's going to be the artist holding, Laura holding the brush, Tiana holding the brush, that makes the choice. So it's absolutely the brush, I think.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And it's getting back to,
Yeah.
Tiana, to your statement about the academia and science. Well, all in all, AI is the creation of academia. So that's the brush created by academia, by the scientists.
AI is the creation of academia.
The academia created. Yeah.
How AI is
Well, certainly not by an academic, by a developer, but not by an academic.
Developer of what? Developer of software.
Yes.
Developer of algorithms, of
Yes.
data processing,
Yes.
which is science.
So?
It's called data science.
Yes.
So, meaning that at this, well, maybe it's also important to understand that what they do, they create something. So, meaning that they try their best to create the most efficient brush.
I think we have to start to establish what I believe to be an academic and what I believe to be a scientist. For me, an academic, maybe I'm wrong and I could be wrong. This is my personal observation because, granted, I have never been a part in the middle of academia. I've been watching it from the sidelines. From my experience, academics are people who gather knowledge that has been established and then they repackage it into their own. They think about it and they repackage it, they write their own assumptions about it. They call it diplomas or a thesis or whatever. A scientist, an artist, those are creators. Developers are creators. They're not necessarily academics. I know of developers who have never set foot in a university before. I distinguish those two very, very, very harshly. And I am very disappointed by countries like Austria, who are funding academia as crazy as they do, but not the ones that academia is researching, which are creators and artists and all the, let's say, not technological people. Because technology is easy to sell, it's easy to find investors for. Academia is easy to sell, easy to find investors for. There's a prestige behind it. But if someone tells me, oh, and I get really furious about this, and granted it's very performative because there are cameras there and it's much more fun to argue like this, and I will never hold it personally against her. This is a deep, deep wound that I carry within me. and I think many other artists too. We spend so much money on our education, so much time on our education. We don't go clubbing because we have that thing to finish. And I'm sure it's the same with any other athlete, academic and stuff, but athletes, they get funding. Artists don't get fucking funding, and I'm tired of being exploited.
Don't get funding. Like that's just but that's just most athletes don't get funding either.
The Olympics, there is no such thing for art.
Of what the fuck?
Oscars.
Because I got some.
I have never seen a 16-year-old artist participating in an Olympical artistic thing. We're watching young people be incredible at what they do, doing flips, ice skating, chess. Where is this exposure for art and artists?
Here.
Thank you.
Toolip Art Gallery.
And we have Carolina Shabol's case. She's a 14 years old from Hungary. She has been adopted by us since Barcelona. We were promoting her, and as we told you, we were able to sell artworks from her at the price of 20,000 euros. No?
And that is wonderful, but it's a small scale.
Yeah, but you know.
And it comes too late for a lot of.
We need to start and we can inspire.
I agree, but you just are underlying my point that it's like there's so much scarcity, and now it's even underlined even more through AI, because we're not sending robots yet to the Olympics. We're not sending robots yet into. Well, actually, I'm taking this back. We just send robots to academia, but still.
In academia, we say this is out of the scope of the work, and I feel like it should naturally come to an end here. Don't you think so? This is not the original question all anymore.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, after she answered you, is there anything left now? Okay, is there any other question? Or is there something you would like to say, or each of you? Something unsaid?
I think I would like to say something. I think that for us the solution is not to use the AI at all, because it's a Trojan horse. It has been invented with the only intention to deceive, and this has been created already since Google started in 1998. So the more we feed the machine, the worse. And it seems that there is no solution. Apparently nobody's talking about it, but it's as easy as switch it off. The same way that you switch off the TV, you don't watch the mainstream media news anymore because everything is a lie. So we can do the same, not using AI. Try to create as much jobs as possible to empower the individualism and to make a better world. That's why we create this kind of activities and projects like the Divide et Impera, no? How to promote the unity and not the separation, because it's designed to divide and conquer. You know, and AI is another one, is a Trojan horse to explode and to divide us more. You know, we have seen it with the COVID, the vaccines, no vaccines, and this and that. So it's constantly blacks, whites, socialists, females, males. Now we have 70 genders on the table. So it's, you know, the key is not to use AI. For instance, you have already proven how good artist you are. Here, Jash has said about the importance of mastery. To do that, you could have done the same by your brilliant mind and your privileged mind that you have. You don't need to use AI.
I proved that it was impossible.
No.
Because I showed you the before, and then I scratched it with my skills, and then with the use of AI.
I don't agree with this. I see talent, like this immediately. I'm dealing with hundreds of people a month, and I see when somebody is worthy or not. The first time that I saw your video, I wanted to throw up. I have seen it to you.
Yeah.
But the more I know you, wow, how much potential you have, how powerful you are, and how good you are in painting. So, you know.
I have to underline though, my painting is just as good as my reference. And that's what I create with AI. I create a reference that I want to paint, that I want to see.
But you have a privileged mind that you can do it. You just try it once, and you will see that you have the power.
But I already have. So Yeah, I know you believe in me, but I am autistic, but I'm not that autistic that I can come up with stuff like flawlessly like AI. That's why I like using the tool.
Sorry, I want to add a quick thing.
Could
Is
we
important.
maybe do this one-on-one later? I feel like
I mean, Carlos, I think he's supposed to say a few words, and if
Yeah, you said that.
either you finish it by
yeah,
one.
I'm going to finish quickly. You said that you moved to tattoo artist
Yes,
because people were not gathering anymore because friends, they were not invited at
people
home.
don't buy paintings anymore.
And they don't invite the people there, so it's so easy. Let's start inviting friends again in our house. Let's start supporting art, and let's start financing what the public funding is not doing. That's it. I'm just going to leave it.
And we have to go one step further. We have to establish that art has an immense value. When artists take months to create a painting, you have to compensate for that time. And a lot of people, they go to IKEA, they're like, I'll buy this print for like, between, I don't know, 30 to 150 euros.
But that's why you sell it for 24,000 euros, because then the collector will appreciate the work you put there, and that's why they will pay 24,000 euros. And of course, you don't sell paintings every day, and that's why also the price it is what it is. So, power to the people.
Correct, but it's a small amount of people, and you have to have that, knowing these people, having access, being here is an absolute privilege. Like, I can't be any more thankful to Mr. and Mrs. Toolip for being here, but that's, guys, it took 30 years to sit here. 30 years of fucking
never
pain.
too late. This is the only hobby or profession in the world that time is in our favor. In the corporate world, as soon as you reach the age of 40, nobody wants to hire you anymore. But in the art, it's totally the opposite. You will die with the boots on. You know what I mean? And this is the beauty. You are 30 years old. You are a diamond, unpolished diamond.
I love the what you're talking about right now, but what can the audience not take? What can the audience learn, or either have a plus or whatever through your conversation right now? What?
You choose freedom or you choose slavery. That's it. You choose freedom, stop using AI. You choose freedom or slavery, keep using AI, and let's see who wins.
It's ready. So we'll go back to the beginning. We have now deleted, it was 50-50 in the beginning. And now you have the chance to vote one more time. So, and the question is, AI art is real art or not? I think that the answer is clear after the last 2 hours, but sorry for putting it, but it was slido.com. Does anyone need the code one more time? Okay, so here we go again. It's 2, 5, 1, 3, 9, 5, 3. And I know that we talked about a lot of things, but I think that the answer, depending on if a human being is using AI to create art, that this is actually what the real question is about. So AI art being real art used or created by a human being.
Something happens.
What happens?
Vote. So we have a new poll, and it's the same website, slido.com.
And the results are the same?
No.
Sorry?
The results
We're
are the
currently
same?
at 50-50.
50-50, yeah.
We're still at 50-50.
Did anyone vote?
So this was completely
Yes,
irrelevant.
12 people have voted. Who hasn't voted?
But maybe the people have shifted entirely, right? We don't know.
Do we need to log out and log in one more time?
No, it's
I think that I need to.
This is a new one, is it already?
Then I need to go into the new one. I'm in the old one.
We are respect to the speaker. So 50-50.
That's not how it works. You show respect by playing the game, not
Yeah,
by
we don't know. It's
not
a
by
random,
quality.
But may I say something about the worry about AI? Yeah, so because I really want to say something for long, because I'm thinking about. So what I'm wondering about the AI is appreciation.
think you are on the wrong
Okay.
website.
So what I'm really worried about the AI, the only thing I'm worried about the AI is great, AI is something totally new, but I'm worried is that people lose appreciation. So if you, for example, watch movie like, for example, before Pixar or whatever, even for example, not really great and perfect, and we are like, wow, so great. And now there's a lot of movie done with the artificial intelligence and new technology, and we are not like, okay. And then, for example, we see Instagram every day, like how many million of art just produced by AI, and we just like slide like this without even seeing anymore. And before, when we see that something really just a simple one, and we already like, wow, that's a piece of art. That's the only thing I'm worried. So it's a get less and less appreciation, and the effect is really, really huge. People less joy. It's really hard to find really joy, especially with the art, and also for something like a story or something. I'm still writing like never use ChatGPT because I feel like from the emotion and so on, it's still like really strong, but from the result, yes, no doubt that the AI creates something really just awesome.
Well, interesting. Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this
May I?
hyperdimensional
So
art.
thank you for being here. 50-50 even in the ending, but maybe that's the answer. Maybe there is no answer to this question. This is a subjective feeling, emotion, and everybody should be able to choose it for myself or yourself. So thank you for being here. We will continue it, so the evening is not finished, only the debate is finished. So feel free to stay here, to network with us, to maybe talk to the artists. And thank you for being here, the first debate. And yeah, let's have a wonderful evening. And each of you choose whether you want or not want use AI, or like or not like the work without getting too personal. So thank you.